of makeup and beauty of the decades. Good morning, everybody over in Facebook land. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you guys have been really enjoying the lessons on beauty history, a little bit of American history. It's been a lot of fun for me doing the extra research and creating fun looks with you guys too. So welcome aboard. All right, so today we're up to the 1950s. And if you've been following along with me, kind of like traveling through time with me, you know that the 1940s, we had World War II, and it ended in 1945. And in 1947, that militant, very masculine type of clothing and look, the hair that was shorter and curled very tight to the scalp, that masculine look is starting to break away. And we have this new look that is launched in 1947 by Christian Dior in Paris. And he has this idea of fashion where clothing is very heavy and layered and using a lot of fabric, which brings us into the 1950s. So when I think of the 1950s, I think of a huge boom in every area of American life. And it really transcends into other areas of the world as well. Now, keep in mind, from 1950 to 1953, we also have the Korean War. So we have a lot of Asian influence that comes back to us through our GIs. They start sending women scarves and pins and little pieces of jewelry and trinkets. So more and more we start to see also an Asian feel to the clothing with patterns as well. We also have a designer, Crystal Ball, I think that's how you say it. I butcher names, sorry. He's from Spain. And I forget his last name. I can't say it. Sorry, guys. He brings in his flair of Spanish design, a lot of floral prints. We start to see in the late 1950s, big flowers in the hair. That was a really big look. It was just a beautiful way to adorn hair in the 1950s. So that came from Spain. We have a lot of influence in beauty and fashion for sure. Well, first of all, we have this economic boom in the United States. So everyone has extra money, not only men and women working, but also we add a whole new, a whole new demographic to our economics, and that is the teenager. Parents have a little bit of extra money. They start giving teens allowance for chores that they do. Teenagers actually start to go to work because work is abundant at that time. So we're not back to, back in the 30s and 40s, where work was, back in the 30s where work was very limited, one person per household. Then we had World War II, which allowed more people, women especially, enter the workforce. So now in the 50s, because there's this industrial boom, there's more products, there's more need, teenagers are working as well. So enter the teen with the money. And a lot of your advertisers in the beauty industry, a lot of your beauty companies at the time realize that teenage girls is an untapped market, and they start going after you guys ferociously. I mean, they just really jam beauty and fashion down your throat. So let's just talk about that commercialism for a little bit. TVs are now in almost every household in America, the black and white television. We have music entering the TV world. We have a lot of musicians performing. So adults and teenagers are watching this and are really getting influenced by rock and roll. You have Elvis, a lot of movies being produced out in Hollywood. So a lot of this celebrity influence on how to look. James Dean, short career, but big influence in men's clothing and men's look, right? We have the hot rollers, an African-American inventor. Oh, I forget his name now. I'm so sorry. He invented the hot rollers in 1930, but really perfected them in 1958. So hot rollers were in. So women were buying a lot of tools. Makeup was being mass produced. You had more colors available. You had lip gloss now. You had concealer. You had mascara in the container. We're not using that cake mascara anymore. So there's the need for packaging, right? So this is being produced in America, more jobs, lots of ideas, and lots of marketing. The 1950s was a time of when perfectionism was really pushed with women. I'm going to start doing my makeup. I'm going to use some foundation and my sponge, and I am using a nice deep color. So perfectionism was the new norm in American culture. Keeping up with the Joneses was this new philosophy, right? More people in your house worked, therefore you could buy more stuff. And there was this huge also migration to the suburbs. People were buying a lot of homes in the 1950s. We also had the GI Bill. So all of those soldiers coming back from World War II, it was set up for World War II soldiers. They were able to get loans, quick loans on homes. So people were moving out to the suburbs. Women were working. They were also working in homes. So we had this double duty, and the economy was doing really well. People were being paid really well. Our unemployment rate was super low. So what was happening? People were buying stuff, and we just were major consumers. Thanks to the 1950s, a lot of American philosophy and ideology on consumerism really begins, and this stuff is shoved down our throats. And especially with women, we are told that perfection is now the look. Leave It to Beaver, right? That type of show where, mom's hair is perfectly coiffed. She has her bouffant. She did her rollers. She went to the beauty parlor. That's what we called it back then. She spent hours there sitting under the hot air vents, poofing out her hair, getting her hair teased. Hairspray was used. Cigarettes were smoked. It was this idea of glamour and perfection, and you were to keep up with this. Another thing that's really important in American female fashion and beauty is there were more choices. Like I said, with makeup and hair, we have more products, more tools to use. But when it comes to fashion, there are so many more designers, not only overseas sending their patterns over for people to copy, basically, but we have a lot of American fashion designers coming out of the woodwork. We have Anne Klein, who was the pioneer of the boutique within the department store, where clothing was separated within the department store by the particular designer, which still exists to this day. She was the one that started that in the 1950s. So you have a lot of consumerism and a lot of this ideology of, you're this glamorous wife, glamorous worker, amazing sex appeal, but you are to really try to be perfect at all times. Does this ring a bell to anyone? If you were raised by a mom in the 1950s, this was for a lot of women that I've talked to, a lot of my friends, this was something that was really shoved down your throat. You were going to be prim and proper and have etiquette and grace and style at all times. So I'm going to start with the eyebrows. Again, the eyebrows, signature look in any type of makeup of the decade. But this time, the eyebrow, we still had the brown and black pencil, but this time the brow was a super, super arch. But it was also, do you see how I'm applying it? This was the new technique that was taught. It was in little strokes. And it was a lot. Now, this is a dark brown because this is what they basically had then. It was a lot thicker. Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe. Look at those pictures. It was a lot thicker brow than the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. So we're starting to get out of that super thin brow. We're keeping a very high arch, but we have a much thicker exterior. I hope that works. I really don't like this dark brown on me, but that's what was available then. I'm trying to keep the makeup as close to the way it was done then and as the original way. Of course, we see in movies of today that, our period pieces, they will use different products, but truly, the eyebrow pencil was still the dark brown of that super, super high arch, and then that thicker, and then it does kind of taper off. Now, I'm going to cheat with the Q-tip because this is really, really dark. Another thing that they did and they had available was a brush. And the eyebrows were also brushed through as well. So they would go back and they would comb and brush and kind of soften that pencil. You can see a big difference, and it's still really, really dark and heavy. I like the shape. Another thing that I found very fun doing this with you guys is that I'm discovering what I like about each time period when it comes to beauty and, makeup, hair, and fashion. And it was really interesting yesterday when I was doing the 1940s and I was saying how I really couldn't find anything in my closet that was appropriate for that time period because, quite frankly, I don't like that militant look of clothes with the, broad shoulders and, very simple cut to the clothing. I'm just not a fan of that. So I don't really own anything that would look like that. And of course, you had a lot of big hair, if I hadn't mentioned that as well. So curlers were in. Velcro was invented in 1958. So I think we really see the Velcro rollers more in the 60s than we do in the 50s. But using big rollers, they even use cans as well to roll their hair and get that big bouffant. Another very popular hair look for women was updos. A lot of updos. And I think that's where the 1940s carries over into the 50s, because the 40s had a lot of short bob haircuts, and the curl was really, really tight and also pinned as well. Again, that very militant, masculine look. So women that were still kind of attached to that, the updo was really, really popular. The chignon, am I saying that right? Chignon, buns, braids were really big. And the new classic look for teenager was the horsetail, which so lovingly named, right? Which soon was called the ponytail. So we see in a lot of movies from the 1950s are younger people that would have long hair. My hair at this length probably would be cut to shoulder length for my age group. And I would also, if my hair was long, I would wear it up in different types of buns, that sort of thing. Young girls were really into the ponytail as well. They also had very tight, super, super short bangs that would extend out to almost to like the beginning of their ears. So we had these like really tremendous bangs as well. All right, so eyeshadow, again, it was still pretty much applied with with your finger, but I'm going to apply it with the brush. There are many, many more colors coming out. The cosmetic industry becomes super, super competitive, lots of advertising, and a lot of shaming, with advertising. You build fear in people. They're going to buy that product to take away the fear. So the whole anti-aging market was pushed. You didn't want to grow old, okay? You wanted to continue to look young. You wanted to look gorgeous for your husband. So when he comes home from work, he has something to look at. It was just very, I don't know what's the word. It just wasn't nice. Women were really targeted to spend their money on products and clothes and looks. And there were so many looks, you just couldn't keep up with it. And you were just spending tons and tons of money, becoming exhausted. Ring a bell, ladies, ring a bell. So this was really the beginning of commercialism and a real push to target women. They wanted your money. And we also have very, very important movement in our culture, and that was the civil rights movement. Very, very instrumental in that whole culture of being fair. Women also wanted their rights as well. You also had, again, I can't stress it enough. The 1950s was really this push of getting your money, of spending your money and keeping up with the Joneses. And it started creating in circles of women this competition between each other, who looked better, who had the better clothes, that sort of thing. And that continues on to today. Something that hopefully none of you out there listen to. All right, so I put some brown shadow on, and I also have that vanilla shadow. Another thing that comes out with eyeshadow is shadow with a little bit of shimmer in it. This was something new. It was actually made out of like snake scales. And a lot of colors. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this purple shimmer and just apply it right there, just to add a little color, because that's what the 50s were about. Big patterns in clothing, lots of color. Factories are open, restrictions are lifted from World War II. So now you can dye clothes any color you want, and it's just so fun and playful. All right. Blush, we're going to put a little bit of the blush. Was not really, again, it really wasn't that Big heavy blush, just a little bit of the pink. Women also use the blush. We start to get into contouring. They use their blush to, they would move it around the face and use that as their contouring product. Again, you know, that idea of looking perfect, and that was applied with a puff, not with a brush. Same with their powder. I'm just going to go quickly. So powders were still used. We have compacts now. I feel like I have too much on, but back then, the more the better, right? You were done up. All right, eyeliner. This was a real signature look to the 1950s. Eyeliner was extended out and upward, and we now have this beautiful cat eye look. So I'm just going to extend my liner up and outward. Good. I love that look, the cat eye look. All right, I'm being too much of a perfectionist. Let's go to the other side. But that was the look. The makeup was perfect. I know I'm doing this really, really quickly today. I'm sure women took their time when they did their makeup, especially for an event. And that's another thing about clothing back then. They had clothes for different occasions. It wasn't like you had the one dress, the one pair of shoes that you wore everywhere. Now you can afford multiple things, multiple jackets, scarves, hats, gloves, just a lot of accessories. So we have that really nice, I hope I'm achieving a good lift. So I want this to look good in the black and white. I hope you guys check out the pictures I take after to show you what the makeup looks like up close. I don't retouch any of my photos. I don't know how to do that. I don't have any of those apps on my phone. I probably should. But I'm kind of, as a professional makeup artist and as a teacher, I really want to show you guys what makeup looks like in person and real skill, not something that I'm digitally retouching. But that's fun too, I guess. But we can't be consumed by that, girls. And that, you know, that's kind of my message today with the, you know, that ideal of perfection, right? It doesn't exist. And women back in the 1950s, they really struggled with this. Victoria Woolf, right? Not Victoria, Virginia Woolf. Oh my gosh, excuse me. You know, we had a lot of women hurting themselves over, good morning, everybody at Instagram. Thank you guys for watching. A lot of traffic over there. Thank you. And hi to everybody at Facebook. You know, we had women literally killing themselves over beauty and this idea of perfection, and just, it's ridiculous, really. And it started in the 1950s, and there was so much pressure. Diet pills, really big, right? Smoking, drinking coffee, you know, just trying to look as thin as possible. Thin was still in, curvy, but thin. A lot of sex appeal. And women were exhausted because they, you know, were taking care of the house, they were working, and they were trying to keep up with this image as well. But they got all this other pressure from other women, you know, that, oh, she, you know, did you see, she, you know, but that goes on today. It goes on the internet, on Instagram and Facebook. I don't participate in any of that. I don't listen to any of it, but I've heard stories about this, and young girls that are using these apps to do stuff to their faces, that sort of thing. It's just not healthy, girls. It's just not healthy. And what was happening in the 1950s is the women that started to really be aware of the pressure. And again, back to the civil rights movement, there was a lot of awareness. You know, the materialism, the consumerism was such a distraction, but there really became an awareness of, wait a minute, what the heck is going on? What is the message that these companies selling these products are trying to tell me as a woman, how I should behave, how I should look, put me in a box sort of thing. So there was there was this uprising feminism of women starting to, you know, take a step back and say, you know what, girls, I don't know about this. This just doesn't feel right. This attacking of each other, you know, this keeping up with each other, this whole image thing. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. And I feel sold. So just wait till we get into tomorrow's show about the 1960s. And I also have a very, very special guest. My friend Lisa Amato is coming on, and she's going to be showing us some pictures of the past of family members to explain different looks and well, just different looks with clothing, hair, and makeup. So it's gonna be really fun to have someone else on the screen with me to talk about the 1960s and what was going on. So I hope you don't miss tomorrow's show. Mascara, guys, a lot of mascara. It came in a tube now, which made it a lot easier to apply than the cake mascara, less mess also. So a lot of mascara. And when we get to the lipstick, we start to see more and more colors as well, more color choices. Red definitely was still the traditional color. Women were stuck on it. They loved it. It screamed femininity. Also, we get into pink as well. And we have beautiful lip gloss. So if you look at pictures or movies of the 1950s, we also start to see women with glossy lips, which is really nice, because before that, we just had the matte. So I'm still going to use that red lipstick. And lips were big. Big, big, big. The bigger, the better. But now we are going to have, do I have a lip brush? I don't think I do. I don't usually use a lip brush on myself. So anyway, what I will do is use a flat Q-tip and put on a ton of lip gloss. Oh, yes. And we walked around our house like this and vacuumed. Not in my house, that's for sure. Oh, yes. Did we really do that? I guess some women did. That was their look. So big, big hair, big bouffant. Again, my hair probably would have been cut shorter. Also, haircuts were cut in a way in which the hair would be styled. So your haircut was very structured to your everyday style. So, okay. Anyway, I'll take a picture later. Let's have fun with this, and let's give me a little Marilyn Monroe. Ooh, look at that. See, that's what you get for playing around with your hair. That's why I wouldn't vacuum with this much lip gloss on. Or dust. Or God forbid I opened a window and then the gust of wind came in and all the hair would hit the lip gloss. It'd be all over the place. Yeah, not happening in my house. Let's add a little beauty mark. I do have one. It's very faint. If I could find it. There it is. Let's do a little Marilyn right there. Glamorous. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, love the 1950s. Wasn't really a fan of the message that was sent to women, but hey, you know what? That's American culture. That's how we evolved. So a lot of great things came out of the 1950s when it came to hairstyle, clothing, and makeup. I hope you guys enjoy today's video and lesson. I look forward to tomorrow with my friend Lisa. We're going to be talking about the 1960s. A lot of fun. I can't wait to get her take on that time period. All right, guys, have a beautiful day. Enjoy, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Enjoy. I forget that this is not a touch screen. There we go.